Alright guys, today we've got the 2017 Honda Rebel 300 ABS model. ABS is for the anti-lock brakes. We'll do a quick walk around, go over some of the specs and the features on it. They did make a 500 version of this new Rebel for 2017 too. I'll throw a link in the description below, and then also in the top right corner you can click to check out the 500 too. But this is a 300, which is a direct replacement for the Rebel 250 that a lot of you are probably familiar with from the last 32 years that it's went unchanged. But we'll start first up front. Now this one is anti-lock brake model, and also to touch on the brakes, as the 296mm disc up front with a hydraulic caliper. It has a 240mm in the rear. And you can get this without ABS if you'd like to. It does have a big fat front tire, which is a 130/90/16. It's got a 150/80/16 in the rear. And as far as the front suspension goes, it's got 41mm forks, right at 4.8 inches of travel. You can see the radiator here, so she is water cooled, which is one of the biggest upgrades aside from the fact that this is fuel injected, whereas the old Rebel was air cooled and carbureted. And this 300 class engine isn't really 300 cc's, it's 286 to be exact. It was pulled from the CBR 300R, which used to be the CBR 250R. It makes right at 30.5 horsepower at 8,500 RPMs and 19.9 foot-pounds of torque at 7,250 RPMs. And it is a single cylinder, dual overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder. And it does have dual rear shocks in the back with 3.8 inches of travel. You'll see there is no passenger seat. They all come as a solo setup from Honda, but they do have an accessory seat and passenger pegs to mount on this one, as well as quite a few other accessories that are available, and some more in the works too. And it does share the same 6-speed transmission that's carried over from the CBR 300R2. And it's got a 2.96 gallon fuel tank. Honda hasn't released official mile per gallon numbers on this yet, but if it gets what the CBR 300R has, it'll average between 71 to 73. Turned it on so you could see the gauges and fire it up too, but this one doesn't have a charged battery in it. The gauge is pretty simple. It's a negative backlit setup with just your basic fuel gauge, speedometer, and an odometer, and 2 trip meters too. The 300 shares the same seat height as the 500, which is right at 27.2 inches. It does weigh a good bit less, right at 364 for the non-ABS and 370 for the ABS model versus 408 for the 500 Rebel. And it's got a 58.7 inch wheelbase. And there wasn't a huge price increase from the old Rebel 250 to this new Rebel 300. The old one had a retail 2016 of $41.90. This one jumps up to $43.99. So not a big jump for being an all-new bike. And then this is the ABS version, like I've mentioned a few times, which has an MSRP of $46.99, so only $300 more for the ABS. And the ABS only comes in black, but if you go with the non-ABS model, you have black, matte pearl white, matte silver metallic, and red as well. 300 and the 500 share many of the same parts. Almost everything's identical except for the weight. They have the same fuel tank, seat height, wheelbase, tires, suspension, brakes, you name it. That's pretty much the basics on this one, guys. If you want to see even more detailed specs, pictures of it stripped down to the frame, engine internals, all that good stuff, I'll have a link below and in the top right corner too over to my blog over at HondaProKevin.com. What do you guys think? Is it a home run compared to the old school Rebel 250? Definitely got a different look to it instead of the typical cruiser, more the bobber style. But comment below, let me know what you guys think. And as always, thanks for watching. If you would, slap that like button. It always helps get my videos up near the top. Thanks, guys.